Good evening. Welcome to Channel 80 News. I'm Eric.
No, come here, Sarah.
And our first story of the night is the tragic explosion of the Challenger space shuttle. Let's go to Sabrina with the story.
Program suffered a setback. Challenger exploded after 2 minutes of takeoff. Its entire crew of 7 astronauts was killed. The explosion is supposed to halt NASA's shuttle program for 2 years while scientists work to eliminate the technical problems. Approximately 17% of Americans witnessed the explosion live. It was later determined that 2 rubber O-rings, which had been designed to separate the sections of the rocket booster, had failed due to the cold temperatures of the morning of the launch. The Challenger was 73 seconds into its flight when it was suddenly enveloped in a red, orange, and white fireballs as thousands of tons of liquid hydrogen and oxygen fuel exploded. Back to you guys.
Now we're going to be moving on to the equal rights movement with Sarah.
Now the equal rights struggle in the 80s. The Equal Rights Amendment was passed through Congress in 1972 but was never ratified. Women in office were increased. Many African Americans were elected into office. Reagan approved 20-year extension to voting rights. Latinos gained political power, as well as Asian Americans were the largest growing minority in the population in the United States. The ERA was reintroduced into Congress on July 14, 1982. Reagan made government less conscious with race and nominated the first woman Supreme Court Justice. The ERA was controversial because people didn't want women to have the same rights as men. Now for international news, big with the fall of the Berlin Wall.
Thanks guys, we're live here from Berlin, Germany, where I've just been told by some government officials that the process of tearing down the Berlin Wall will begin immediately tomorrow morning. This ends the 29-year stint that has divided communism, East Germany, and capitalist West Germany. This is coming as a result of the communism East German government falling apart, meaning that the West Germany government and the East Germany government is finally going to be united. The announcement of this decision is also expected to add on to the downfall of other communist European countries such as Yugoslavia and Poland, to name a few. Finally, I've talked to some families that live along the border, and they've told me that they haven't seen their relatives or nephews in almost 30 years, so that'll finally end tomorrow. Live from Channel 80 News, this is Ben Rowe.
Thanks, Ben. Now we're going to be going to Catherine with the new policies in the Soviet Union.
Due to the Soviet military buildup at the expense of domestic development, economic growth has declined. Failed attempts at reforming the economy and the success of the United States against the Soviet Union's forces in the war in Afghanistan have led to a general feeling of discontent, especially in the Baltic Republic and Eastern Europe. The new Soviet Union president, Mikhail Gorbachev, has created an atmosphere of open criticism of the communist regime. He has also implemented more political and social freedoms to the citizens of the Soviet Union. Gorbachev has implemented 2 new policies, Glasnost and Perestroika. These policies have created a possibility of a shift of relation between the United States and the Soviet Union. Some question what caused Gorbachev to pursue these new policies. The major cause is the economy. The economy isn't just struggling because of their military buildup. Their factories have been unable to catch up to those in the West. The citizens have been facing severe food shortages, which has been a real motivator for these changes. Hopefully, if the Soviet Union continues to move toward a democratic government, the United States and the Soviet Union will build new relations. The end of the Cold War could be around the corner.
Thanks, Catherine. And now in other news, the Iran-Contra affair. Okay, now for the Iran-Contra affair. The U.S. sold weapons to Iran in 1985 in exchange for Iran's promise to pressure terrorist groups in Lebanon to release American hostages. It tarnished Reagan's reputation and the plan didn't work. It contradicted administration's policy of refusing to negotiate with terrorists. The administration used money from sales to fund Contras in Nicaragua, even though Congress banned sending funds to Contras in 1983. Reagan accepted responsibility but never admitting to ordering the aids. Several leading administration officials, including Oliver North, convicted on charges from scandal. Some convictions were overturned on technical grounds. Even though this happened, Reagan left office with high approval ratings. Reagan appeared on national TV to explain his role and his reasoning. And the scandal began as an operation to free the 7 American hostages.
Issues in the United States, drugs and AIDS. So the spread of cocaine has increased drug usage throughout the country, and Reagan has sent the Army and the Navy to stop smuggling into Florida. However, drug dealers have apparently shifted to the border between the U.S. and Mexico, so drug use hasn't slowed down. Also, AIDS is a new disease that has spread throughout the country, that it's uncurable so far, and it's killed hundreds of thousands of Americans. Reagan's been criticized for not funding any research to find a cure for AIDS, and there was a large protest in D.C. a few weeks ago. Speaking of Reagan, let's go to Catherine to talk about Reagan and the economy.
Thanks, guys. Now we're going to be talking about our new president, Ronald Reagan. He is currently the 40th president of the United States of America, and before he was president, he was an actor. For those of you who don't know, he appeared in many low-budget movies. The economy was in pretty rough shape back in the beginning of the decade when Ronald Reagan first became president. To turn this around, Reagan based his economic policies on the theory of supply-side economics. Otherwise, it's known as Reaganomics. Reaganomics is based on the belief that if taxes are cut, the wealthy will invest more, which will create more jobs. Back in 1981, Congress passed the Economic Recovery Act of 1981, which has reduced taxes by 23% over the past 3 years. The largest tax cuts have been given to the richest Americans. Besides tax cuts, Reagan has also called for deregulation or removal of government control over industry. So far, Congress has deregulated the airline, telecommunications, and banking industries. From 1980 to 1982, shortly after Reagan has taken office, the economy has experienced a severe recession. However, back in 1982, unemployment rate rose to more than 10%. The recession hit blue-collar workers the worst. However, by the beginning of 1983, the economy began to turn around and inflation fell dramatically. And things are starting to look up. Back to you guys.
Thanks, guys. Today we're going to be talking about some of the recent trends that have been going on in the music and entertainment industry. First of all, we got to talk about this, the electric guitar. With the invention of this, the genre rock and roll has really taken off in the 80s. Led by some great singers, AC/DC, Guns N' Roses to name a few, rock and roll is definitely the main hit of the 80s. Pop music's also popular too, with rising stars like Michael Jackson and Prince. Next off, movies. Back to the Future. This is easily a classic, and personally, my favorite movie set of the 80s. I mean, the production of this movie is just phenomenal, and it'll have you on your seat till the very end. Finally, the Rubik's Cube. These things have been a hit and are on the rise. It's an easy way to kill time, it's challenging, and everyone around the country is getting one. That's all for today on Entertainment and Music. Ben Rowe from Channel 80.
Guys, now for fashion and clothing. A new trend has developed and is the obsession with physical fitness. Dressing like a tennis player is very popular for both men and women, and so is the high waistline. Bright colors, sunglasses, bangles, and hoop earrings are a necessity. Teased hair, loud makeup, and neon are really important for the fashion. Hats, miniskirts, leg warmers, finger-length gloves, parachute pants, and oversized tops were the top items. MTV has had a huge impact on fashion, as teens across the U.S. are tuning in to watch music videos and copying the stars' styles. That covers fashion in this decade. Back to you guys.
Thanks, Sabrina and Ben. Now the air.
We have more news on the creation of the SDI program, which was initiated by President Ronald Reagan. The SDI program, for those of you that don't know, is the Strategic Defense Initiative, which is a laser-based missile defense system intended to protect the United States from any potential nuclear attacks. Many of it's been called Star Wars by many because of its use of lasers in space and its advanced technologies. Critics have said that it's unrealistic and will only further the national debt and is simply a waste of money, because most of the technologies needed to fulfill the goals of the SDI program have yet to be discovered and are just now being researched. Thanks for listening. That's all from the story. News. Have a good night.